Hello and a warm welcome to you. My name is Julia and I'm about to take you through an art journaling process with tons of layers and colors. It's an all Dylusions art journaling spread where I use Dylusions, ink spray, paint, stencils and stamps. I start in my big Dylusions journal and find a blank spread. I spray my journal generously with clean water and then I start with my green, mushy piece, followed by blue Lagoon, crushed grapes and a hint of black marble. I spray with water again and let the colors blend on their own before I use some kitchen roll to mop up color in the middle so I don't totally destroy the spine of the journal, and then mop up all the excess ink. Then I pull out a dilution stencil called courtchester and put it on one side of the journal. I spray it heavily with water because these spray inks are water reactive. Then I flip the water-covered stencil to the other side, giving me both the negative and the positive of that stencil. After all these inks, I let it air dry until completely dry before I continue with paint. When it is time to use paint and stencils, I'm starting with this beautiful alphabet stencil. I use vibrant turquoise because I don't have the blue Lagoon paint. But other than that, I go with the colors I already chose in the first layer. I stencil in the alphabet in a few random places that feels pleasing to the eye. After the alphabet, I use the purple crushed grapes to stencil in the skulls, as random as before, and I just love how those skulls look. In my head, this will be a look at 2020 and a hello to 2021, and I want a black streak in the middle to work on. But I don't want any straight lines or perfect edges, so I tear a couple of papers and use them to give me rough edges, and use black marble paint to fill in the streak from one side of the book to the other. Then I want a brick wall under the black streak, but I don't want it to be black or white. I use Ranger's white matte texture paste and blend in some slate grey paint and a bit of black, and I mix it up good. And then I bust out some silver glitter and mix that in as well, so the bricks will stand out in their own way with their grey glitter. I use a spatula to push that texture paste through the stencil and stencil in the bricks at different heights to follow the streak in the middle. When it's done and I have texture paste over, I put it in an airtight jar so nothing goes to waste. So I want to use the stamps from the new Dylusions release that my friend Linda so generously sent me. They will tell a story or just be beautiful. That is up to you. I take out those quilt stencils that also was in the release, and I use the hexagon masks and stencils to see where I want my hexagons so they connect with each other all the way from one side of the book to the other. And I want 12 hexagons, and they come in two sizes, and I decide to do one big and the rest small. I trace the stencils and the masks with a pencil so I know where to put the stamped hexagons. It is time to stamp out all those beautiful hexagons, some sentiments, and the women in masks. I use a silicone mat under my paper, but you can use anything, a stack of papers or a newspaper. It stamps better with something with a little give under the paper. I stamp in archival black ink, and when I have the stamp out, I stamp it twice, so I have one to spare. I press the stamp down for a good 20 seconds to give the ink time to seep into the paper. When everything is stamped, I do what some dread, but I find quite therapeutic. I fussy cut them out. Before I can move on, I want to fill in those hexagons that hang off the edge of that black streak with black marble paint. While I paint, I wish to thank you for watching and hope that you will consider subscribing or leaving a comment. They are so appreciated. This channel, as small as it is important to me, and I want your input going forward. Or just tell me who you are and where you're from. So this is the time where I start to go crazy with the details. I get this idea to create dimension by cutting out parts of my spare stamped images and lay them on top. I quite like the black and white against the background, so I will compromise and only color in parts of the images to make them pop. I use my ink-filled water brushes from Tim Holtz, filled with the same colors as before. On this image I use Blue Lagoon, Mushy, Dirty Martini and After Midnight to color in only the background and let the piece on top be black and white. I use some other colors to contrast, like on this rosy lady where I only use the light pink quartz. For this video I left in a lot of coloring and gluing, but if that's not your thing, you can just jump forward. So here are all my images cut out and mostly colored, and it is time to start looking at placement. From black cardstock I cut out 11 small hexagons and one big to go behind the images to raise them up and make them stand out. And I start to glue on every image on a black hexagon. Some images fit perfectly and some leave a black border to doodle in later. And while I have that glue out, I will glue on those extra pieces for dimension. Here I am fixing some small details and coloring in some images that I felt needed it. Here it is, my string of connected hexagons, and I start gluing them down using my art glitter glue and a cookbook to hold them down while they dry. For the sentiment "We are making history", I use both foam tape and glue to pop it up and help it stand out. I fill in the dots on this lady with a white gel pen and decide on a whimsical border at the top of the page, where I just use a black marker to make a thin frame with some zigzags and bubbles. And finally it's time for a favorite of mine, the doodling. And I doodle in the hexagon borders with different kinds of patterns, stripes, polka dots and stitches. I just love how the white gel pen pops off the black cardstock. The last touches on these art journaling pages is to write 2020 where my hexagon pattern starts and 2021 where it ends in a white gel pen. Thank you all so much for watching. I cherish every one of you and I can't wait to do this again. Until the next time, see you soon.